Well, happy whatever day this is that you're watching us. This is Richard Rosen, Winnipeg's friendliest undertaker, and bringing you another interview. The purpose of all our interviews that we've been doing is to share knowledge on a wide variety of topics. Now, many of you who've been watching our interviews over the past couple of years know that we cover everything related to the funeral industry, in particularly green burials, the importance of managing and protecting your digital assets. Also, a new segment that we've started just recently is called Aging in Place. The idea of aging in place struck me a few years back when I bought my story and a half home. And when I was staring up at the steep stairs going up to the second floor, and I started to wonder, well, how in the heck am I going to manage to get up there as I get older, now that I'm getting older? And what are the other things and implications about me wanting to stay in my home and keeping control of my life to be able to make good decisions so that I could have the best quality of life that I possibly could. One of the things that I did was become an early member of a local organization called Businesses and Organizations Supporting Seniors. And it really allowed me to reach out to various people in the aging in place community, businesses and organizations that support older adults, which help to create the best quality of life possible. These interviews are to really share knowledge about what it means to age in place, and also to introduce you to some of the members of our boss group. So if you're looking for a good audiologist, a financial planner, additional home care, a pharmacist, a lawyer, just to name a few, Boss doesn't have a website presently. We do have a Facebook page, and a link to that will be provided at the end of this. But on the funeral home website, richardrosen.ca, there is a complete page for the Boss group and the membership list. And today we have with us Amanda McRae and Stacey Miller from A&O Support Services for Older Adults. Since 1957, A&O has been providing innovative programs and services to older adults. These core programs and services fall under three foundational pillars of A&O: safety and security, social engagement, and counseling. And today's topic certainly fits within the scope of all that A&O does within our community. And the conversation today is one that struck me as I've been growing in my career as a funeral director, is walking into someone's home and finding that it's been quite a mess, and there's stuff everywhere, and not quite understanding. And as I got older and I started to understand that it was something called hoarding, and now that I understand it a little bit more, we've learned that A&O is now offering some services to help folks with this challenge, whether it's the person or their family members. So with that, I'm just going to toss the question out to Stacey. What can you explain to us what a behavior of hoarding really means?
Sure, and I think it goes beyond. A lot of people think it's often just the items, and they see a home, and it goes beyond that though. Often the clutter is just a symptom of what is actually going on. So one of the major things is finding and keeping a large number of items. So not only are they acquiring those items, but they are not letting go of the items. So that's one of the main features. And a home that is difficult to use because of the amount of items in it. Things that we look at when we go in there is, are they able to use their counters? Are they able to use their stoves? Are they able to eat at their kitchen tables, sleep on their bed? So in order for it to be a hoarding disorder behavior, it does have to limit how they can use their home. The other thing that's a major part of hoarding disorder is the anxiety they feel to those items. So just thinking of somebody removing some of those items, or thinking of them throwing out those items, creates a lot of anxiety and distress for those individuals.
Stacey had done an exercise with our staff quite a few years back, and they said, everybody go into your pockets or your bag and take out an item. So people had pens, people had chapstick, hand sanitizer. This was well before COVID. And said, okay, now put them in this bag, and everybody put them in the bag. And then they said, okay, now you're not going to get them back. How do you feel about that? And it was very interesting to watch everybody's reaction to that, because some people are like, oh, it's a pen, I don't care. And some people are like, but that was my favorite pen, or that was my brand new chapstick, or whatever it happened to be. And then there was a second exercise they did, and they gave everyone a styrofoam tray that you would often get meat on, right? It's clean. And everyone got one of those. They got an elastic band and they got a paper clip. And they said, okay, now in groups of 2, think of all of the uses you can come up with for each of these items. And, you know, some of us came up with maybe 12, and some people came up with massive lists. And they said, well, imagine someone that's experiencing hoarding behavior. They probably can find a gazillion uses for some of these items, right? So there's always a rationale to hold on to them. So it was a really good sensitivity training process that I think they walked us through.
Right. Yeah. When you mention that, I've got my mom's spoons. My mom collected spoons, and I remember going on trips somewhere, and she'd give me money to have to go buy spoons. So I'm going through the box of the spoons, and I'm looking. I remember buying this one. I remember getting this one, and I thought, well, I can just toss these out. But I can't, and it's not because of the spoons. It's because my dad made the spoon racks that they're in. They're these beautiful mahogany spoon racks that I remember as a kid him making. I can't throw them out, but it seems stupid to hang them on the wall with nothing on them. So I'm caught with this, and it's not really a hoarding thing, but it's that example that you've just alluded to, like these important things, and what do they become? It's really quite interesting.
And I think that's a key part of it, is we all do it to some degree. It's just the level of items in our home, but
Right.
We all have those attachments, whether it's, pictures, baby clothes,
Right.
certain items that you purchase, or, things that you have memories to. I think we all do it. It's just the level of
Right.
items.
Right. That leads kind of into the next question of, within the community, do you find that hoarding is fairly common or uncommon?
I think we only see a part of it. We average about 100 new referrals a year, but we work with many carryover clients who we've worked with previously. But they estimate is between 2 to 5% of the population. Which you look at the population of Winnipeg, that would be about 38,000 people that are living with hoarding disorder. So while it is a very busy program, I think it's just we don't see all of it that's out there.
Is there a particular demographic, an age, or anything that you find seems to be more apt to hoarding than others?
The majority of our clients that we work with, I think if you look at the stats, they'd be between the 70 to 85. The average age that somebody reaches out for help is about 50. But hoarding starts very early on. People see it in their children, whether it's items in their room or certain items that they're taking from school, whatever it might be. It affects all age categories. But because we work with 55 and over, our primary group that we work with, I would say, is 70 to 85.
Okay. Now, there must be some, for older adults, there must be some barriers that you've also learned about that makes it really difficult for folks to accept that this behavior is hoarding. Is that a fair comment to make?
Very fair. And I think there's a lot of reasons why people don't reach out for help. Often people are scared of being discovered. So if they're in an apartment building or certain safety risks in their home, they don't want people to know about that. That could lead to an eviction. That could lead to fire personnel coming to do an inspection. Sometimes people have mental health issues that might prevent them for looking for that help. Past experiences, maybe they've had forced cleanouts. Maybe they've had either public people or family members do a clean out, thinking that would help, but it really prevented them from reaching out for help in the future. So there's a lot of different reasons or they don't know what resources do exist. So I think it's important that, people talk about it, and, we provide also education within the community to let people know that there are services for help.
Yeah, when we were getting organized for these interviews, I had shared with Amanda that one of the opportunities and challenges that I had with the family was a fellow whose wife had died. And when I walked in, I realized that, oh, this is quite something. There was a lot of stuff everywhere. And as I got to know him a bit better after a couple of visits, doing things for the funeral arrangements, that I began to understand that there wasn't an issue here with hoarding, and there wasn't anything that I understood or knew about, resources or things. But I just tried to find a way. How could I help make him realize that there's some stuff going on here that maybe there'd be some opportunity to clean up. And I didn't know exactly what to do, but I thought, well, if I just talk to him as a sloppy guy, not a funeral director or anything. And I did have silver in my hair, and that seems to have helped a bit because I was coming from a similar spot. Granted, I was a bit younger, but to be able to say, it is a challenge when someone that you live with is the one that really did all of the cleaning and things, and now you're gonna to have to find a way to step up, and you've got to really fill some of these voids. And I had to tread carefully, but it's Winnipeg, and we want to help each other, and to try to find a good way for me to help, but yet not to go too far. Realize that this is a bigger issue, I think, really is, and it's just like you've addressed. So
yeah, and I think, Richard, that's great, is that you established a rapport with this fellow, and he trusted you. So you could, at that time, there weren't a lot of resources, but it's great to know now with A&O's this full house program, which is the first of its kind in the country. We can help people 55 plus deal with hoarding behavior. And as Stacey said, this is not a quick fix. This is a process. And her and her team of social workers will work with clients one-on-one. There's also support groups. So there's a support group called Buried in Treasures, pardon me. And then there's another one, Unburied in Treasures, that helps to sustain the behavior change. So I think that's really important, is that it's a long-term process of working, and like you said, being very empathetic, that we're here to support people in aging well in their own homes.
So we might have family members, building managers, hydro workers, whoever it might be, calling just to say, look, I saw the situation, I'm not sure what I can do. So, often we work with them as well, just to say, you can let them know that there's resources that do exist. We encourage that older adult to call themselves. All of our programs are voluntary. And again, like Amanda said, 55 and over. So we do need that person to be agreeable. But yeah, that would be the first step, is often those people who surround that individual reaching out for the help.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess when somebody's phoning for either for themselves, that's where all of the safety net can come into play of all of the resources. And because it's not just cleaning up, as you said, if the house gets cleaned up, then now we got more room to put more stuff.
Exactly.
And it's to be able to give that extra support to say, okay, here's to make sure that this doesn't continue to happen. But I guess as a caregiver too, is to find all of those resources so that their loved one is going to be protected. So you've got a strong foundation to work from to help. And I guess that's really what A&O is really striving to do.
Yeah, so the other, Amanda mentioned the groups that we provide, but we also do one-on-one support with the older adults. So the first thing that we would do is explain what the program is, and that the goal of the program is to help clients live safely in their home, and let them know they are in control of that process. Anything we do within any of our programs, but in particular this full house, client is in control. We do take a harm reduction approach. So we know that we're not going to fix this problem overnight or change everything about those behaviors, but what can we change that would make them safer? Could we make an agreement that the stove stays clear? Could we make an agreement that their bed stays clear? So those are some of the things that we explore with that client, kind of mapping out what would be the first priority within their home and for them. We also do case management. So we'll work with, often it's building management, fire personnel, public health, whoever it might be, home care, to work together with that client to kind of address those issues and see what can we do to keep them safe. And then we work on that client with internal motivation. So how do they view their items? Work with them to see what kind of anxiety would you feel if we took this item for 24 hours, and work with them to kind of explore that a little bit more.
Yeah, it's baby steps.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, lots of little baby steps, and it's I guess it's just kind of testing the waters and see, as you said, to have something removed for a short period of time.
Yeah.
I know that with my mom, you know, she came out of the depression, and as you said, a lot of your clients are in that 70 and 80 year time span. So they experienced the challenge of the depression era, and it's, you know, you kept things. And as you said, you know, what can you use this thing for? And they have a whole list of things, because most likely it's because of their life experiences that you really had to figure out how you're going to get as much out of this thing as you possibly could.
Sometimes family and friends won't visit, or they won't allow friends and family to visit because of their hoarding. But sometimes that's the motivation they need to address it, right? If my grandchildren, because the adult children are saying like, Mom, Dad, I don't feel safe sending your grandchildren over until things get sorted out, because I'm worried they're going to fall, I'm worried you're going to have a fire. So sometimes that's the motivation to start the process, is I want to see my grandchildren, I want to have my family over, I just need to know how to get started.
Is there any parting comments or questions that you'd like to leave with our audience before we wrap it up?
I think we just need to let people know that they're not alone, even though right now with COVID, it has been, so many of us have felt so socially isolated. And if people are also living with hoarding disorder, I could only imagine how alone they feel. So please know you're not alone. There are some amazing supports in the community and through our BOSS group to help support people to age well in their own homes for as long as they want to. So I think that's all of our goals. I don't know anybody who wouldn't want to age well in their own home, in their community that they're used to. So that's what we're all striving to do, is to help us all age well.
Great, thank you. So that pretty much wraps up our interview here today. Again, thanks to Amanda and Stacy from A&O Support Services for Older Adults for joining us. My name is Richard Rosen, Winnipeg's friendliest undertaker. Thank you for the investment of time that you've given to us here today. Keep safe and keep smiling. Thanks.